Good afternoon everyone, thank you very much for joining my latest video. How yous all doing? I hope yous are well. So in this video, just want to take a look at Keir Starmer and have a small discussion on the fact that he's become the new Prime Minister of the UK. I know, well, not too many are surprised by it. It's been pretty obvious it's been coming. Not because he's done such a good job at campaigning and sort of grasping the needs of the British people, but rather because Rishi Sunak's been such an abomination and his campaign was nothing short of ridiculous, really, and some of the slogans that he was using. But as you can see for the title of the video, I stumbled across something that Keir Starmer had indeed protected Jimmy Savile. We'll get into that in a second, but I just want to sort of discuss this landslide victory that Keir Starmer has apparently won here, because he didn't get as many votes as what he got in 2000 as what Corbyn got in 2019, and in fact in the last by-election that he sat in, his votes in his own constituencies actually halved. So it's not so much a vote for Keir Starmer, but rather it was a no vote to the Tories to sort of get rid of them, and this is how it's went for God knows, probably since it started, that, well, we don't like you, so we'll take you. We've had enough of you, right, where can I go now? Except for Reform, really. Well, Reform's not, they've only just got going, they've only got, 12 seats. I'll need to do with you again. And Keir Starmer, he's been picked out for this job, there's absolutely no doubt about it. I mean, Sir Keir Starmer, I've said it before, it's so far removed to what the Labour Party's supposed to be about now. That's not to say that if you do good things and you end up accepting one of these knighthoods that you could be the Labour leader. But I just don't see it in Keir Starmer. All I see is just another stooge. It says the same bloody things to get people to support him till he gets what he wants. And this guy is absolutely no different. I mean, when he was part of Corbyn's cabinet, he was appointed the shadow immigration secretary. Right, okay, you can tick that. So that's a little box tick for his future post. He was charged with the exit and Brexit, whatever that. It's shadow secretary for exit and Brexit. I can't remember the exact title. But he was put into that position as well. Why? I don't know, because he was against it. So surely you should have picked someone that wasn't so vigorously against it, but he was. And then he gets appointed to the Stephen Lawrence case as well. I mean, this is obviously before he got put into the Labour Party, and that sort of gave him his in and into the public eye, and this is what he's received the knighthood for. I mean, he resigned for Corbyn's party because of obviously the annihilation of Jeremy Corbyn, and as predicted, Keir Starmer is a Labour Friends of Israel member. So and once Corbyn had gone, he had gotten his job back and actually became the Labour leader. And he said this is what he said: "I'm sorry, and I will tear out this poison about the anti-Semitism that was apparently in the Labour Party. I am sorry, I will tear out this poison by its roots and judge success by return of Jewish members and those who felt that they could no longer support us." In October 2024, in the race of the EHRC into anti-Semitism in the party, Starmer accepted its findings in full and apologised to Jews on behalf of the party. In February 23, Starmer's anti-Semitism reforms resulted in the party no longer being monitored by the EHRC, and Luciana Berger, a Labour MP, had resigned over the issue, rejoined the party. So basically what that means is that you're not allowed to criticise anything Israel does. I mean, Hamas, I've to go back to the video that I've done on it, and you'll see that anti-Semitism doesn't even mean what they think it means. So it's a misnomer, it's out the window, in my opinion. But this is a man, like I say, was Shadow Secretary of Immigration. That's certainly getting him ready for his bloody job. And then I read that he was head of the CPS, which is, I mean, he does a lot of good. He has done some good work on investigating MPs that have been sort of frivolous with their expenses. But when the evidence was presented to them with regards to Jimmy Savile, they had claimed that he had claimed there was no evidence against him. Now, just quickly on Jimmy Savile, I know we're all aware of what Jimmy Savile done. the extent of his abuse is honestly, it's unfathomable. But there's so many things he was involved in that some people's brains are not going to be able to take. I actually think he wasn't only a record breaking abuser, but I think he was a serial killer. I've said this before. When he was, in Leeds, that's where the Yorkshire Ripper was from. They reckon that it was like a cult that Savile was the head of, and I'm not saying what's his name, the Yorkshire Ripper, I can't remember his name, it escapes me at the minute. He said, yes, I did it, but it was in the orders of someone else, and one of his victims was left at Savile's property outside Leeds, and he used to have all these bigwigs from Leeds Yorkshire Police who had arrested him on such charges way back in the 60s, the Friday Morning Club, and it was all getting swept under the rug and all the rest of it, all these doings. And I actually think he's the serial killer Bible John in Glasgow as well. And you look at the setting of those murders, those tragic crimes. That's his setting. It's in dance halls. I mean, Savile's been known to quote scripture. It's like I say, dance hall settings, music. I know he said he had a Glasgow accent. Who says he couldn't put it on? The first victims were in 1968. Now, I had said to myself, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that this man could be travelling around Britain killing people. And then I came across this show that he started in 1968 called Savile's Travels, where he started going round the country in a bloody camper van. Now, it's like I say, that's not enough evidence to say it's someone, but it's him. But it's certainly mounting, especially when you think of the just dead ends and all the nonsense that's came out since it regarding Bible John, that is. Now, this is one of the first depictions. In fact, this is the first depiction of Bible John. Now, if you can't see that that's it there. That to me looks like this man. Just bear with me a second. Sorry, just bear with me a second. I should really have had this out. Oh, clumsiness. And that is obviously Jimmy Savile. Now, again, it's not enough, but it certainly warrants an investigation when you think about what we know he was involved in. And the Ripper, the Yorkshire Ripper, Ripper crew, according to Tommy Sheridan, I've mentioned them before, is code for do not touch this, hence Jack the Ripper, etc, etc. But Keir Starmer had said that there was no evidence against this man, and yet it's overwhelming. Now, obviously it's came to light that there was so much evidence that he could have reincarnated 100 times and he would never had enough time to serve the sentence that he should have got. But this is Keir Starmer had apparently said that, well, he did say, because he was head of CPS, that there's no evidence here. Now, that was all brushed under the rug, and it's came to light that there was evidence. Now, The Guardian, as despicable as they are, they ran a bloody story back in December to say that Keir Starmer he didn't know that they had done that. It was done without his knowledge. That someone within the CPS had bloody said, well, there's no evidence here and we'll just sort of sweep it under the rug by the man that's heading it up and say there's no evidence. That doesn't sound right to me, because it doesn't, if you're signing off on something and you're sort of just an employee and someone's above you and you've been asked to sort of do a task or an assignment, but it still needs to get signed off on by the person that's above you, he had to have signed off on that for that to be sort of, well, there's no evidence. And yet, we've got the Guardian running it saying, it's a barefaced lie. It is an utter barefaced lie. There's no doubt about that Keir Starmer didn't know that. Now, they were prepping this man. That would have been evidence of how good he would have been for the job he's doing now. Like I say, he's been knighted. He's Shadow Secretary for bloody immigration. Shadow Secretary for Exit and Brexit. And this is what he said and all about immigration. Listen to this, right? This is why we can use their words against him. Now, this was back in 2017 he said this. Starmer said that the free movement has to go, but that it was important to allow EU citizens to migrate to the UK once they had a job offer, given the importance of immigration for the UK's economy. So in that, see, this is when he's shadow, that's what people want to hear. Oh, yeah, well, immigration's fine as long as they're coming to work, because that would appease a lot of people. But he's just done away with the Rwanda plan, and the floodgates are about to open. So he's saying, and there was another quote as well for around about the same time, to say that the immigration policy and the remit of it it was so outdated, and it was catastrophic basically from back to front, and had to be completely revamped. Right, so what have you done to revamp it? Well, say what you want about Rishi Sunak, but he's tried to get the Rwanda plan to kind of curtail these boats. You've just scrapped that. So that's you telling people what they want to hear again, and it just comes out with the same bloody nonsense. Hope this, hope that. Hopes for the future, people. It's never to be met. It's always hope and change. I'm for change. Let's hope for fucking change. But it never ever changes. It just gets worse. And it wouldn't even matter if Sunak could continue to get in, because they'll draw up things that serve them. So when Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, everyone knew what that was going to mean. And it means that the floodgates are going to open, and he's already talking about scrapping the 2-child benefit cap. Now, that to me that's inviting people here. If he, just by saying it, that's perking people's ears up. I mean, he's getting advice from Tony bloody Blair. Tony Blair is a man. Oh, I mean, we see him now. The evil is staring out at him. But let's look a little bit more into Keir Starmer's history, right? Now, he's been involved with betting companies, received endorsements from them. Betting companies are so bloody unethical, the word barely describes it. They claim that they're trying to battle addiction, but they just send their emails to everyone. I put £10 a month in a bloody account, and I still get these emails about gambling addiction. It's like, look, if you're only spending £10 a month and that you're still getting these emails, I'd hate to see people with an actual addiction. What is it that you're sending to them? But they're not sending anything. But this man's received gratuities from them. He's also received gratuities from a company that work and build football stadiums. They've actually just been involved in a scandal themselves. I forget the name of it. I can't remember the name of it. But just type in football scandal, Keir Starmer, whatever. And they were using cladding that could catch fire and was dangerous to life, which is a massive scandal. So I don't know how the Grenfell fire victims would feel about voting for somebody like that. He's also, Matt Moulding has endorsed him as well. He's a former Tory. He's a former Tory donator. Now he's donating to Keir Starmer because he's just... look at the newspaper articles from 2019 regarding Corbyn. All the big newspapers, they absolutely trashed him because they didn't want somebody like Jeremy Corbyn in to office because he stood for everything that was going against their agenda. Fast forward 5 years and look at it, all those same newspapers are backing up Keir Starmer. So this again is how the media controls people's perception, and they can direct humanity in a certain way, which is why 5 bloody organisations own something like 90% of the world's media. So they've got a big say in it. Of course the people that donate have got a big say in it as well, but so have the people that vote. But like I say, the votes aren't there. He's got less votes than what Corbyn got. And Jeremy Corbyn got a lot of votes for a reason. Because people could see that he was obviously trying to do the right thing. And Israel, you're not allowed to say anything bad about Israel. The minute you do, you're absolutely, you're thrown to the wolves. And that's what the Labour Party done to Jeremy Corbyn. Now, I would like to think that Mr Starmer has got one eye on Liz Truss's tenure. Because if he tries to move too quickly, people are going to perk their ears up and their eyes, and they're going to start asking what's going on. We didn't vote for this, Mr Starmer. But like I say, it's more a vote. It was a no vote for the Tories as it was for Keir Starmer. I mean, look at the SNP. They've suffered as well, because they're a criminal party also, and I feel vindicated with them because I was ostracised here for saying what I'd said about them a few years ago, and like I say, I feel vindicated because they're just criminals. They're no different to any other bloody party, and people can say what they want about Nigel Farage, and I know he says all the right things now, and there is some things I agree with him, but the thing about it is, it's like if it was looking like he was going to be able to take some power, he would then be compromised as well, and you'd be a fool to think that he wouldn't. But Keir Starmer protecting Jimmy Savile, I ask you, people of Britain, is this any different to what we had before? I don't think it is. It's just more of the same. And I take one look at, I don't like to judge people on looks, however, when I look at Keir Starmer, I just see fraud. I'm sorry to anyone that bloody voted for him, but I just see fraud, because he's people call Boris Johnson a danger to British democracy, or one of the biggest dangers to British democracy, but I would say Keir Starmer is probably an even bigger threat to our democracy, because he's ticking all the bloody boxes for this globalist agenda. There's no doubt about it, and I've said many times, these immigrants, they're being moved here, they're being moved into a bloody position, and if they had any sense, they would remain with the devil with whom they're already acquainted. And some might say, well, that could be a bad devil, and maybe it is, but if you're not coming from a war zone, I don't think you should be coming here. But this guy that's in number 10 now, that's all going to go out the window. But like I say, I like to think he's got one eye on Liz Truss's tenure, because if he does, then he will listen. He'll need to listen to people, because like I say, this landslide victory is not such a landslide victory when you're the last election, your votes halved in your own constituency. Now that's down to some of the things that he's been involved in, and the gratuities, or some of them that I'd mentioned just before. So people can make what they like of it. People can say what they like of it. But when you've got a man he's a woke prime minister, and he's used the term, the immigration policy it needs a rethink, a fundamental rethink from start to finish. So I would use those words against him and say, well, you've said yourself it needs a fundamental rethink. It doesn't look like you're fundamentally rethinking anything, Mr. Starmer. And this is the reason why I don't vote. I'm sorry, I just don't, because there's no point. And people say, oh, you can't complain. It's like, well, it doesn't matter, because they're all controlled by the same people. How can you say, right, a vote for Starmer is different than a vote for Sunak, when the same people who have backed the Tory party over the last few years are now backing Keir Starmer? Why do you think that is? Because it's going to benefit them to do so, because he's a red Tory. He is a red Tory, and I think, well, they're all on the same postage stamp, as I've said before as well, and until we realise that and stop voting, and it's like when an election comes round, people get caught by that spell that, oh, if you don't vote for him, he'll get in. And that is what it is, it's a spell, and that's what my next video is going to be on. It's going to be on words and how these spells are cast on us, and the things that we need to know about vibrations with regards to what we say to ourselves, and it's genuinely just taking control of your mind again, because I'm sorry, I know, considering everything that's going on, but far too many people who claim to be awake are going back to the ballot box. And what good's it done? So vote for this person or vote for that person. It doesn't matter, because Starmer's got in, and the agenda's going to continue anyway into Agenda 2030, as we're already aware, and it's not going to get any better under this man's tutelage. And in fact, I would like to think that there's going to be some kind of revolution triggered through this man's policies, because they're going to turn the volume up. This is nothing. They're absolutely going to turn this volume up. But don't forget that your new Prime Minister, or this country's new Prime Minister, protected Jimmy Savile by saying, when he was head of the CPS, there was no evidence against him. and now some outlets are claiming that he didn't know that action had been taken. I call bullshit. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for joining me.